Well, welcome to this edition of Beyond Belief. I'm George Noory, and what a program we have in store for you right now. My special guest is Andrew Collins. He is a researcher, a noted author. He's written 15 books about all kinds of mysteries, and his latest is called The Cygnus Key, which we'll get into in just a moment. Andrew, welcome to the program.
Thank you, George. Great to be here.
You have spent a lot of time investigating different regions of this planet for these mysteries. One is in Turkey, called Gobekli Tepe. Tell me what that is.
Well, Gobekli Tepe was discovered in 1994 by an enlightened German archaeologist by the name of Professor Claus Schmidt. And he had been working in the region, and he climbed this mountaintop one day and found that there was a huge ancient, what they call an occupational mound or tepe on the top of it, which was about 300 yards by about 200 yards in size by about 45 feet in height.
Jeez, on top of this mountain?
Yeah, and all around was evidence of prehistoric activity in the form of flint tools, which he could instantly date back at least 10,000 years. But there were also carved fragments of stone of beautiful animals and human features. And these he recognised also as belonging to a very ancient prehistoric people that had existed in this region, as I say, as much as 10, 11, even 12,000 years ago. And what's so strange is that a team of scientists had visited the site in 1963, and they'd seen these same stone carvings, but had dismissed them as Byzantine, no more than 1,000 years old, because they looked so beautifully finished.
Sure.
So they missed an opportunity of investigating it back in the 60s. But Claus Schmidt realised the significance of this site and immediately began excavations there, which have continued from that day to this. And what they've uncovered is a whole series of what they call stone enclosures, which consist of standing stones or megaliths, great stones, which are in circles, just like the stone circles of Europe. So we're talking about something like Stonehenge, but multiplied by perhaps a dozen times. And all of the stones are covered in the most beautiful carved imagery of birds and animals and insects. But also many of the stones are anthropomorphic.
How big are they, Andrew?
The tallest of them are about 18.5 feet in height.
Whoa!
These are these huge monoliths, twin monoliths they have at the centre of these stone circles. All of them have these twin monoliths. And the stones have these T-shaped terminations, which are abstract heads. They also have in relief these arms around the sides of them that come together in these spindly fingers at the front, carved fingers, to show that the stones actually represent beings of some kind. Now, as to what they represent, they could be the first gods, they could be celestial beings, or they could be divine ancestors, we don't know. But clearly, these people, venerated whoever was meant to be signified by these stones. Right. So, I mean, and there the mystery begins.
How did ancients carve out stones like that? What kind of tools did they have?
At that time, they certainly had no metal tools, so everything must have been done with stone tools, flint most obviously. And there's no secret in the fact that they were doing it at this time because the quarries are nearby. Experimental archaeology has shown us that you can actually carve one of these reliefs of animals pretty quickly. A day or two is all you would need. And to actually create one of these stone enclosures would probably take around a year to do. But what's so significant is the number of these enclosures. Although there is about a dozen that they've uncovered so far, it's believed that there could be anything up to 20 or even 50 still to be uncovered beneath this layer cake, which is made up of stone rubble, of earth, and general waste, which was thrown on to cover over these enclosures.
And I guess erosion would do that too?
No, I think it was purposely.
Really?
Yeah, these were purposely buried. Not all at the same time. What seems to have happened is that they would create one of these stone enclosures, which, by the way, the oldest are the most technologically accomplished and the most beautiful and the largest. And they date to about 11,500 years ago.
That's a long time ago, Andrew.
Well, it's the end of the last ice age.
Jim, how long do you think it took for the indigenous people of that era to build that place?
Well, I think each enclosure probably took about a year to construct. And it was built successively over a period of time, probably around 1,500 years, from about 9,500.
1,500 years to build this?
Yeah, well, I mean, stage by
stages.
stage. Yeah. I think that each of the enclosures would have been in use for, I'm going to guess, 100 years, something like that. And then at the end of it, it would seem to have been decommissioned, you know, and covered over, and then they would build another one next to it, or they would build it on top of that. So gradually, the occupational mound is extending outwards and also upwards as well. So you've got the oldest structures actually on the bedrock, and you've got the youngest structures at the top. But what's so significant is that the oldest structures are really sophisticated. They're really advanced. You know, everything about them suggests a high culture. But those that are the youngest are minuscule in size. I mean, they're almost the size of something like a sort of a tiny family room. And because they have these benches around them, these tiny little stones, it almost gives the impression of like a family jacuzzi or something like that. It's
Right.
very odd.
Well, they just gathered.
But it's almost like they were going through the motions at the end. It's like that they had to keep up a certain style. They had to still, you know, create these stones, these T-shaped stones. But it's almost like they'd forgotten why they were doing it. And then eventually, around 8,000 BC, they give up completely and they move out. But something has changed by this time, because during this 1,500-year window, there's
This building window.
we have what's known as the Neolithic Revolution. And this begins in this very area of the globe. I mean, within sight of Gobekli Tepe, and it cannot be unconnected. And this is the invention of agriculture, of animal domestication and animal husbandry, of metalwork, the first beer, the first wine. Lots of different firsts for humanity all begin within sight of Gobekli Tepe, and that's no coincidence.
Now, these carvings that are so unique, what do they depict?
Well, many animals and creatures and birds
That are indigenous to this country, this planet?
We don't know. I mean, you know, we're dealing with 11,500 years ago. We don't know exactly, because we don't have enough evidence of the animal remains to tell us exactly what species are being depicted and whether those species were actually local. But you've got everything there from huge, great bulls, which are known as aurochs, which existed at that time. So you've got snakes, lots of boars. You've got many different types of birds, including the vulture, the crane, what appear to be geese, and possibly even a form of the dodo, you know, an extinct bird. You've got insects like ants, spiders.
They would make little ants?
Yeah, and huge, big representations. You've got scorpions. And all I can say is that these creatures are not, most of them, you don't want to be in a small room locked up with.
No.
Because they're going to bite, they're going to gore, they're going to kill.
They're going to get you.
And I suppose in some ways that is part of the mentality of the hunter. You know, that you have to be on your guard even when doing these rituals and ceremonies. And you know, you have to start questioning what the hell was going on here. You know, I mean, why did they build this place? I mean, why did all these people get together to construct this?
And who planned it? I mean, can you imagine the meeting before they started building this thing?
Yeah.
What they would talk about? Somebody had to conceive it.
Well, exactly.
And say, hey, let's do this for this purpose. What was the purpose?
Well, there is almost no evidence of similar type of stone structures existing prior to this time.
Anywhere?
No. I mean, there's a few candidates which, you know, maybe we can talk about, but this is the only official stone structures or monumental architecture that existed in this age. And if it was part of what you might call a lost civilization, you have to start asking, what does the word civilization actually mean?
Right.
Well, it means a social order, really, a civilized lifestyle that involves certain types of day-to-day function, but also it includes the use of writing. And all of these you have at Gobekli Tepe, because very clearly there was some kind of hierarchical structure to what was going on. There was what we'd call a paralete behind the motivating of the bringing together of these hunter-gatherers to create monuments like this. You have obviously people carving and quarrying and managing.
They must have had hundreds of workers.
Yeah, absolutely. But beyond that, you also have the writing, because on various of the stones are what we call ideograms, or even you might call hieroglyphs, which are mysterious. I mean, like the letter H appears, the letter C, and various other symbols that crop up again and again that obviously have some kind of meaning, probably in sound.
And they haven't been deciphered yet.
No, I mean, clearly, you know, researchers like myself have ideas about what they mean, but there is no textbook that we can look at and say, you know, yes, it means that yet. So there was some kind of paralete. So we have to ask ourselves, who were they? And my best guess at the moment is that they came in from the north, probably across between the two great seas in that region, which is the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea.
Right.
Between those two is what's known as the Caucasus, or the Caucasian Mountains. And these are an impenetrable barrier, basically. You have to go around them. But beyond them is what's known as the Russian steppe. And I think that there is good evidence of high culture existing prior to this time in that area, and that peoples from up there came down via the Caucasus into what we now know as Turkey, and took over the show.
Fascinating work, Andrew. Thank you so much for being on the program.
It's absolutely my pleasure.
What a great investigation. An ancient civilization building an incredible structure, but for what purpose? And it's that constant drive, that constant push to find out why that keeps us going. I'm George Noory, and thanks for watching Beyond Belief.